for staying with us, especially on this Friday afternoon where we continue with paying tribute to women. Now, the problem of inequality and salary disparities continues to rear its head in each and every discussion concerning women. This seemingly overshadows the call for equal representation of women in the legal system of the country. Women empowerment has become a significant topic for debate in recent years because the law of the country and its institutions play a meaningful role in the attainment of gender equality. In order for both men and women to move beyond only the theoretical enjoyment of all rights and freedoms, there's a requirement for recognition of their rights in the jurisprudence. This requirement is underpinned by a need for transformation within the ranks of judges, magistrates, and even legal practitioners. Today we have Kimmon Kannigan, who is an attorney by profession and is partner at Lanham-Love Attorneys, and she joins us now. Thank you very much for coming.
Thank you for having me.
All right. Well, this profession is regarded as very draining and strenuous, but you decided to get in no matter what. What motivated you?
Training is one adjective for it, Colin. Strangely enough, I was motivated by some of the very reasons that you allude to. One of our family members was a victim of domestic violence. And I remember, during my early childhood, walking into my grandmother's home and seeing my aunt sitting there, beaten and bruised. And I remember conversations between my parents and my grandparents and my aunt saying, maybe you should go and see a lawyer. Maybe they could help you get a divorce, or they could send him a lawyer's letter. And to my 6-year-old mind, I thought, wow, attorneys have got to be pretty powerful people if they could keep a monster like this at bay. And of course, my love for law and my passion for the subject was further fueled by my love for history. So studying the likes of Mahatma Gandhi and Nelson Mandela further cemented my decision to study law.
So when you got into the practice, what was your impression getting there as a young girl who had just finished at varsity or perhaps serving articles? What did you experience?
When you finish law school, there is this misguided notion that I've arrived. And you're in for the greatest shock because, in fact, you're really just beginning. It is and remains a male-dominated profession, and you are navigating the space amongst very, very strong personalities, and you have got to find your feet very, very quickly. So my impression was that I hadn't arrived, I was in fact just beginning, and it was up to me to sort of carve out my niche in the profession.
So what were the hurdles that you felt were deterring you to find your space within the legal space?
I guess for us growing up as kids, we were very fortunate to have had parents and who were just incredible, and a very strong role model in my mum, who raised us on, you are the captain of your own destiny, you are the captain of your ship, if you stay the course, you can overcome the hurdles. And like I say, some of it was the fact that it's affectionately known as the old white boys club. That's what it's referred to as in our circles. It remains a male-dominated profession, and so sometimes there is a need amongst female colleagues who feel it necessary to sort of shout louder and fight harder to make themselves heard. And those were I think for me, one of the biggest challenges that I had to overcome.
Now, the legal justice system is regarded as sometimes unfair towards the victims, and the perpetrators of crime can take advantage of the loopholes that are there. What is your view?
My view of the criminal justice system is, I think there is a quote that most law students are familiar with, and that is, justice delayed is justice denied. And as we sit here, Colin, we are the very appointment of Sean Abrams as the head of the National Prosecuting Authority has been contested and overturned by the Constitutional Court. And of course, we know that the wheels of justice turn very, very slowly. We know that law enforcement agencies, such as the South African Police Services, very often get it wrong insofar as providing incomplete dockets to prosecutors, which makes an already difficult job even more taxing. So if you take the collective picture into account and you add to it the current state of limbo that the NPA finds itself in, the criminal justice system at this point leaves very little to be desired. But I think it has to be said that it's not a position that is unique to South Africa.
Some people feel that the justice system is really not in line with the sentiment of the public with regards to a crime that everybody has seen. For example, you hear that a man has raped a woman and there is, reasonable evidence that that could have happened. But he gets out on bail the following day and continues to wreak havoc in the society. And while he's on bail, the victims continue to suffer, and he eventually gets acquitted. So with this kind of decisions that are questionable and disagreeable, as a practitioner, what goes through your mind when you are pursuing such a case?
So for me personally, I don't do a lot of criminal work, but because of the reasons and the rationale behind my studying law, it continues to touch a nerve. And if I take it back to one of the most notable cases, I think, in this country's history, two of them, in fact, Oscar Pistorius and Sri Ndavani, the end result speaks for itself. We managed to get the Pistorius case right on appeal, but that was a long, drawn-out battle. Not the case with Sri Ndavani, who is living a very, very fulfilling life, presumably, in the UK. So when I look at the system as a whole, and I consider the statistics of violent crime against women and children, it is an area of law. It is an aspect that needs to be revisited strongly and urgently.
Right. Here is an argument that the South African justice system has Western influences. The Roman Dutch law, for example, hinges upon the crimes, for example, that can be handled by the indigenous laws in the country. What is your view regarding transformation within the legal system hitherto that?
So our system is not primarily Roman Dutch law. It is, in fact, South Africa is such a unique circumstance, such a unique country. We have one of the most progressive constitutions in the world. And our system is not based primarily on Roman Dutch law, but it is a mix of Roman Dutch, English, and, as you say, indigenous law. So there is some level of Western influence, but we have what is known as a hybrid system that I'd like to believe is cognizant of the diversity within South Africa. Not as much as we perhaps would like it to be, but to a larger extent than usual.
Okay, so going forward, what is your view concerning justice and fairness, especially for women in the country?
My view is that we need to give proper effect to black economic empowerment that sees the appointment of previously disadvantaged people in the space, and specifically women. And I think it's not so much about the appointment of females in these roles, but the empowerment to get them to the next logical step.
All right, thank you very much for making time to speak to us.
Thank you.
All right, that's Kimmon Kannigan, who is an attorney by profession and is partner at Lanham-Love Attorneys, speaking to us about women in the legal justice system. We take a break. When we come back, the headlines with Palisa and Peter.